I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the shed, where Miss Dream always has a story.
It's Dream, and we got a season 2. Your Black Bostonian here, a product of a single mother who I work to make proud every single day. I'm a 3-degree holder, your veteran educator, your tech entrepreneur, and founder of the Chair platform. My platform is dedicated to supporting Black and Brown people on their hair journey by creating hair boards, connecting to hairstylists, and sharing haircare tips for a more joyous experience. My podcast is about sharing hair stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and stories surrounding identity with goals to leave you laughing, learning, and advocating. So come in and listen to the stories in the chair.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Aaleyah. Aaleyah, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Aaleyah, and I'm here today to rekindle, I guess, a relationship that I haven't had in a long time. It's been an honor to be invited to speak on this podcast with you all. By day, I'm a therapist, and by afternoon and night, I am a nature-driven, activity-driven dancer, yogi, everything. I try to expand my horizons as often as possible because we don't really get much time to do so in our everyday lives. So, yeah, that's me.
Aaliyah and I met at camp many years ago, and there are so many memories I have of Aaliyah. She was always very clear about what she wanted to do. She always wanted to be the best at everything, so she was dominating at all the sports and always making sure that people cleaned up after themselves. And that was always like a constant thing. But one of my favorite memories, it was a theme day and I was in charge, and I chose to do a Michael Jackson theme day. And the staff and the kids had to do dances to different Michael Jackson songs. And you were partnered with Miss Williams, and your kids weren't gonna dance at all, but the two of you danced. It was just beautiful, and that memory sticks in my head. I was like, oh, this is professional. These people know exactly what they're doing, and so that is like a really core memory for me.
I think my favorite memory with you was I don't know if it was like a field day. I'm not sure. I think I was a counselor at that time, and we were doing the tarps. And we were just sliding on the tarps with the soap and the paint and this and that. And I just remember you had the biggest smile on your face. And like as a kid, I remember saying to myself, this is exactly what happiness feels like. And that memory stays in my head forever.
Yeah, that was a good day. And then it rained. Oh man, there was so much going on that day. Oh, that was a beautiful day.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite, one of my favorite camp days. Camp it's funny how much I didn't think that it would be a part of my life as I got older, but as I continued to live out throughout life, like I remember those 5 ideals. But yeah, that journey, I think from 10, I started going to the camp until I was maybe 20 when I stopped going as a counselor. So that 10 years of my life really changed my life drastically. It provided me with so much discipline, so much creativity to this day. Like every day for me is an adventure because every time we woke up, it was like, okay, what's going to happen today or what's going to happen tomorrow? I wake up and I can't sleep past 6 because, we had to get up at 6 a.m. for showers, like it's things like that where it's like embedded into my heart and soul. So I'm really thankful for the camp, but I'm also thankful for the connections that I've gained at that camp. Regardless if I'm social with them as much as, I can be or not, it's just like the memories, the heartfelt conversations, it all really made a difference for me and my practice and my personal life. So yeah, I'm so thankful and grateful for that experience.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for Aaleyah to be on the podcast. As she mentioned, it's been some years since we've chatted, and I hit her up on Instagram. I was like, "Would you be on my podcast?" And so I'm so excited. What I remember
Yeah.
all those years ago is that you was studying to be a nurse, but now you're a therapist. And how did you transition into therapy?
Yes. When I originally wanted to go to school, I was going to school to be a nurse, but that was never my dream. That was the dream that my father wanted for me. He wanted me to be a nurse because he wanted me to make money, and that's what it was. So I was following that pathway for a while until I was going into, I think, my second year of college, and I had to take the TEAS exam. And the TEAS is like a nursing exam, entrance exam that you have to take in order to get into a nursing program. So I took the TEAS exam, and I think the score that I needed was like a 60, and I got like a 58. So I was like, it's definitely not meant to be. If I'm this close, but I'm this far, it's not meant to be. So I ended up majoring in psychology for my associates, and I eventually got my associates in psychology. And as I studied psychology, I became more interested in intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's where like my passion was. Because I remember, being at camp, and not everyone was neurotypical. There was some individuals who had their specialties in life, is what I call them. And I just remember that having an impact on me so much. So I began looking up different careers, and I came across the career of occupational therapy, and I was gun hold on that career. Once I transferred to the University of Tampa, I studied occupational therapy. Well, I studied allied health with a concentration in occupational therapy sciences. And during that time, like, I was living my dream. I volunteered for the Special Olympics. I really got to experience what it was like to be an occupational therapist. Once I graduated, I had intentions to become an occupational therapist, but I graduated in 2018, and my mom actually got diagnosed with cancer right after I graduated. Like, I graduated on May 3rd, and she got diagnosed on May 5th. I had decided to go back home to New York because, like I said, my mom was living in New Jersey, so New York is closer than Florida. So I moved back home to New York. I was just living at home for a while. I got a couple of part-time jobs, but I knew that I wasn't finished with school. So I went to study occupational therapy again in Long Island University, which is where both of my parents went. I enrolled into the school, and the first semester, not the year, the semester was $80,000. And I was like, yeah, that's not happening.
Jeez.
Especially coming out of Tampa, where Tampa was such an expensive school. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. Like, the palm trees are great, the swimming pool's nice, the beaches, but it was expensive. So I wasn't ready to, swallow that pill again for just a semester. So I withdrew. And when I withdrew, it was the end of 2019, and then 2020 went into the pandemic. So I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go in life, but I guess we're just going to rock with it. So I was working for an agency that basically spends their time working with young adolescents either on the spectrum or that has intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I got a lot of my experience in that agency. And as I was working there, I actually got into a really bad car accident, and I was paralyzed from the waist down for about 6 months. And this is all while COVID is happening. Couldn't go to the hospitals, couldn't do anything. During that time, I had enrolled, or I was applying to different master's programs, and I was trying to get into SUNY Downstate, which is an occupational therapy program. and they denied me. I would never forget this. They sent me my denial letter on Valentine's Day. So
Jeez.
that was my Valentine's Day gift. And I want to say maybe like a month later, I got acceptance into a dance movement therapy program at Pratt Institute, which at the time I didn't know was the #3 art school in America.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I ended up getting into the field that I'm in now. And for me, it kind of was like a full circle thing because I was a dancer for 20 years.
Yes.
I started dancing when I was 3. And then by the time, that came around, I was just like, who would have ever thought that something that I used as an escape would lead me to what it is that I'm practicing in my career now. So that's when I got accepted to dance movement therapy. So I have my foundation is in occupational therapy, and I use a lot of somatic work and sensory integration in my practice. But my main practice is dance and movement psychotherapy. So that's kind of the story about how I got into therapy.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hair boards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hair boards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair. The chair. The chair. All right.
When you dance or when you're teaching, what does freedom feel like for you?
I think when I dance, it brings me back to who I am. When I was studying to become a therapist, a lot of the work that you study is self-work. You don't really get to practice on patients, especially when it comes to psychotherapy. It's like a internal processing that you go through. And Pratt, like University of Tampa, is a predominantly white institution, and I dealt with a lot of microaggressions. I dealt with a lot of racism, a lot of everything. And after a while, I felt like my body was non-existent on this plane. Like I just couldn't live in my body. We went through so much during COVID and, Black Lives Matter and all of these things. And I just didn't feel like myself. So I had to actually break my body and like be in my body. It's funny because in my thesis for graduation, I have a chapter that's called Breaking My Black Body. And that brought me back to who I was. And when I say that, I'm talking about ancestral, what it means to dance from an ancestral place, from a spiritual place, to honor, my roots. And that's what freedom feels like. The ability to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, yo, you made it. Like, you're here, your body is living, it's on its planet. It's not gonna go anywhere because it's everywhere. And that's when I realized, like, dance has gotten me to this point, because At the end of the day, all I had was the mirrors and a stereo, and that was my life. So that's kind of what freedom felt like to me, honoring the self before the world told me who to be.
That's beautiful, Aaleyah. That's really, really beautiful.
That was it for me. That was really it. I think I really start to like dig deep into my ancestry during that time. Yeah, I really went deep, and that was my way of understanding so much why representation matters, especially in a therapeutic or in the mental health field, in the wellness field, because so many people think they have an idea of what our bodies are capable of, but they have no idea at all. And I credit our resilience, but I don't think it's fair that we often have to be resilient for the sake of other people. And I think we should be allowed to experience life the way others experience it. The way that we do that is by going back to our roots, getting back into the dancing, getting back into the food, getting back into the culture. And, I'm thankful and grateful that I'm from Brooklyn because there's so much of that embedded, even though it's getting a little bit out of hand right now, but there is a lot of culture embedded into Brooklyn. And being in the summer, seeing people play double dutch, like that is our joy, right? Being with family, being amongst your neighbors and the culture, that's who we are. And that kind of helped me get back into my body and find the freedom and movement, period. Not just dance, just in movement.
So, how are you teaching that to other people?
Yeah. So the way that I usually teach it is more, I would say more so in an education way. So usually I'm going to speak on a population that I work with. I work with individuals that suffer or have challenges with addiction, mental health, comorbidity disorders. And I think what a lot of individuals don't know is that when it comes to addiction, we think that we can just stop doing the thing that causes us to be addicted. If I'm addicted to social media, if I just delete the social media apps, then that's going to be it. If I'm addicted to alcohol, if I just stop drinking alcohol, then that's going to be it. No, you have to actually detox the body, right? So I teach based on a body standpoint. I utilize a lot of science, a lot of some people would say spiritual sciences, so like the chakra system or yoga. I do a lot of yoga in my practice, and basically what I would do is, for instance, if we're talking about alcohol, right? Alcohol is something that affects the liver, the kidney, and the bladder, right? Those are the systems that detox our body. So in order for us to detox, we have to detox for 21 days. So you have to detox the liver, the kidney, and the bladder for 21 days. And then you have to stabilize that body, those organs for 21 days, right? It takes 21 days to make or break a habit. And then you have to spend another 21 days building new patterns, right? This is how the cellular generation grows and all of the things. So I use a lot of biology and a lot of, I guess, science and in my teachings to help people understand what's happening inside their body so that they can heal from the inside out. Because what we don't realize is that a lot of the trauma that we experience happens to the body. And that's why it takes us so long to get over people hurting us. It takes us so long to actually heal our wounds and our generational trauma and our ancestral trauma because we're not really paying attention to what's happening on the inside. So the more we learn about the science of our organs and our bodies and our spirit, the easier it is for us to understand the process of such. So I basically educate on that process. And, it goes from either movement. Sometimes I teach a parenting class as well, even though I don't have any kids, but hey, I have two parents and they did fairly well raising me. So I kind of fluctuate between those realms of understanding the body And I think a book that I really lean on is My Grandmother's Hands. And it kind of helps me reground into the practice of somatic healing.
I've heard of the book. Can you explain it to our audience? What are the big takeaways from My Grandmother's Hands?
So I think for me, I'll speak on my experience. This is one of the books that I used in my thesis. And I think the way I resonated with it is that in the book, he talks about his grandmother's hands being tough. And the reason why they were tough was because she was picking cotton, right? And cotton, obviously, as we know it, is a very challenging crop to pick. And when you pick it, often your hands become very, in my case, I'm going to say your hands become very strong. And I think what the book did a good job with portraying is that, like trauma does happen to the body. And when we know something as trauma, it's because something happens to the body that's too fast. It happens so fast that our body doesn't even recognize it. And that was something that resonated so much with me because I think a lot of my life, I was always on the go. Like I was always trying to be the best at everything. I was always striving. And throughout those times is like when my body was picking up the most impact, right? And I'm sure athletes can relate to this, but when you are a dancer, a football player, or whatever, you have a lot of torn muscles, right? Or torn ligaments. And we think that we can just do the bare minimum to heal it for a moment in time, but you keep playing on that torn ligament or that torn muscle or that fracture or that broken foot, whatever the case is, your body's going to remember that trauma. So every time you play on it, the body's going to be anxious, the body's going to be nervous, the body's going to be scared, right? And if you don't take the time to heal it properly, it's going to continue to impact your life. So, in other words, for me, what it stood for, that book, is that if you keep existing in trauma, you're going to continue to have a traumatic life. So that's where, for me, my healing truly started, understanding that trauma takes time to heal, and we can't just rebound and keep going because we know resilience, we know strength, we know what it's like to have your grandmother's hands, and that's what it stood for me.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show. I'm curious to know, after you had your car accident, in addition to finding out that your mother had cancer in your home and you're going through COVID, those are various different types of traumas that are happening to you in your body. And then you go to school and you're breaking down your body to really be able to get to the roots, to reach that ancestral plane. And you're still on that journey. How are you still working through that? Is that through dancing every day? Is that through the yoga and the meditation?
Thankfully, my mom has been in remission, so she's cancer-free as of right now. And that, I want to say she was cancer-free starting, 2020. So it was a 2-year battle. She came out on the other side. So during the time of COVID and being paralyzed, I think that was my most depressive state. Like I went into a deep depression. I started selling all of my shoes. I was like, I can't wear sneakers anymore, and I love sneakers.
I remember your closet. Jeez.
Yeah, it was a very hard time for me. I remember getting out of the bed the day after the accident and just falling straight to the floor. And I just cried. And I think I was there for maybe about like a good 30 minutes before my father had came and like helped me up. And then I had to go to urgent care because obviously we couldn't go to the hospitals. And they did x-rays. Nothing was broken, but when they did the MRIs, I actually had 7 herniated discs in my back. And the worst one was the L5S1, which is right at the base of the lumbar spine. So lumbar spine, and then your coccyx bone. So it was leaking into my sciatic nerve, which is the nerve that runs from I want to say the mid back all the way down the leg. And that's the nerve that paralyzes you if you are paralyzed from the waist down. So because the disc was leaking into the sciatic nerve, that's what caused me to be temporarily paralyzed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't drive. I couldn't dance. I couldn't even use the bathroom by myself. I couldn't raise my arms. It was very traumatic. And I think the thing that saved me was getting accepted into school because I was forced to practice movement. So I started to do a lot of holistic healing because they wanted me to get a surgery, but the doctor that I had, he was not with it. Just basically just put it that way. I was at the time, I think I was 24. I was about 24 when it happened. And he had a daughter that was, I think, 22. And he said he couldn't imagine his daughter having a spinal surgery at 22 years old. So I was working with an acupuncturist, and I did acupuncture for about 2 years. And over time, I also did physical therapy, but the physical therapy was not helping me at all. So I did the acupuncture, and I did cupping and acupressure for 2 years. And that's what healed my body from the inside. And then I started to incorporate movement back into my body. So walking again and stretching, things like that. And to this day, I still have a little bit of back pain, but it's nothing that like yoga can't take away from me or dancing can't take away from me. Everyday activity. The moment where I stop moving now, it's funny because I was never like moving all the time. But the moment that I stop moving or I disengage and exercise or movement, my body feels it. And it instantly reminds me of that time when I was paralyzed. Like being in that experience, it was a lot for me mentally, and I had to do the deep dive on mental health in addition to the wellness part in order to heal that trauma that happened, that impact that happened to me. Because, I think a lot of times there's this stigma on what mental health should look like or should feel like or should sound like. And I myself and my family, we fell into that trap. Like, who goes to therapy? Like, therapy is for people who are quote unquote crazy or something's not right in their head. They 6 cans or a can short of a 6-pack, whatever. The elevator doesn't go all the way up to the top, however you want to say it, right? And I had to like debunk that myth for myself because I knew that I wasn't going to get very far if I continued to exist in that trauma. And being that disease in the Black community and the brown community, it happens so often, I just thought it was normal, and it's not. So I had to really look at myself in the mirror and decide, like, am I going to live this life for the rest of my life, or am I going to be, for me, what I call the greatest gift of God, which is the meaning of my name. So am I going to be this person that is broken or is in this trauma, or am I going to be the person that the universe wants me to be? And then that's when I decided, you know what, I have to at least try. And then that's when I actually started gaining the strength to re-engage in movement and in everything else.
Thank you for sharing. For me, it makes me think about COVID. So I got COVID the very end of January 2021. But, before the vaccine rollout.
Mhm.
and I got it really, really bad. So I had to
Mhm.
go to the hospital. I was admitted. I was on steroids. I was on oxygen, all of it. And I'll always remember the nurse, the first nurse I had, because when everything first happened, they would say, okay, people who get COVID, if you have these pre existing conditions, this is what is going to happen to you. These are the things that you
Mhm.
should be concerned about. I didn't have any of those conditions. So
Mhm.
when I got to the hospital, all the tests that they were running just on the outside, I wasn't flagged for anything. Then I got admitted because my mother was adamant about me getting admitted. I get admitted
Mhm.
and I sit down on the bed. I'm waiting for the doctor. The doctor comes in, right? I'm tied up. Like I have all the wires and
Mhm.
such. And I'm tied up, and the doctor comes in, and I stand up, and all of my levels drop really
Mhm.
quickly. And then the doctor was like, this is bad. But because she was there to see it at that moment, she was able to see how bad this was. And the nurse comes in after the doctor leaves because she's like, okay, you're not leaving. And she says, if you came a week later, you would be dead already. And
Wow.
she said that in a way to be comforting. She was a very fascinating nurse to me because everything she kept saying was not any way type of positive. It was just more of
Right.
the reality.
Mhm.
And my mother and I made a promise to each other after I came out of the hospital. We don't say the phrase "I'm fine" anymore
Mhm. Mhm.
because when I got COVID originally, I just said, no,
You
I'm
said you were
fine.
fine.
I'm fine. I'll
Mhm.
sleep it off.
Mhm.
I'm fine. But then every day I would gain a new symptom. And,
Mm.
but I was like, no, I'm fine. My tongue was green. I'm fine. Things were difficult. And my best friend, her mother's a doctor. So she called me on FaceTime.
Mhm.
And she was saying, like, hey, something's wrong. And I said, no, I'm fine. I think it's just the flu.
Mm.
So she ends up dropping off the oximeter to check my oxygen levels, and my oxygen levels
Mhm.
were at 70.
Mhm.
And so they were like, okay, you should go to the hospital. They're not supposed to be lower than a 95 or something.
Yeah.
So I'm going through this, but still, this whole process, I'm saying I'm fine. And then I'm sitting and the doctor is saying, hey, I'm going to try something on you. So she ends up getting the oxygen tank and she gives me the oxygen and she's like, how do you feel? And I was like, ooh, that feels better.
Mhm.
And through all those moments, I said, okay, what am I fighting for? So then when I was admitted and another nurse came in, she says, hey, we don't know if you're going to make it, but you got to promise that you're going to fight and you're going to try.
Mhm.
And that was the last time I saw that nurse. And so every day it felt like I was in this battle. So then I was finally able to go home and having to learn how to walk again, having to learn how to eat again, doing all of these things. And then having all the
Mhm.
side effects. They just give you a stack of paper and they say, hey, we don't really know what the side effects are. We gave you steroids, we gave you antibodies, we gave you all this stuff, but things are going to happen to you, but only you're going to be able to figure it out. And you just need to take it easy. And so
Mhm.
when I got home, my mother and I, we had a long conversation about being Black women and always being strong and being like, this
Yeah.
can't last. This isn't sustainable.
Right.
And so it became this every day was scary. Every day was being like, this is how I'm feeling today. I'm actually feeling really sad right now. I'm feeling really
Mhm.
upset right now. Frustrated that
Mhm.
I can't walk right now. I'm frustrated that every time I take a breath, it's hard. But saying
Mhm.
that my mother and I's relationship was able to grow in a way because we were able to communicate these feelings, being able to work through the pain and crying all the time instead of not crying at all.
Mhm.
I think a lot about that in terms of still working through trauma by taking every day and being honest about what is going on with your body and with your mind. Well, thank you, Aaleyah, so much for sitting in the chair and sharing your stories. And I can't wait until you're that age and you're sitting on the porch and sharing your stories with your silver locks all the way down to your feet.
Right. I've said, listen, that might happen faster than you think.
Thank you so much for sitting in the chair.
Of course.
I truly appreciate
Thank you for
it.
having me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it so much.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dream always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I'm going to share with you a dream of mine. I would love to be on Sesame Street. Sesame Street held my hand through childhood. In my dream, I would be in my big afro or rainbow braids sitting on the stoop sharing hair stories. I would like your help, please, by doing all the things like leave a review, share it with someone who would benefit from hearing this episode. And if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone at Sesame Street, share your favorite episode with them, and I'll make you some of my famous chocolatey hot chocolate. I hope you have a beautiful day, or if you are like me, still up in the middle of the night, I hope you take a deep breath and rest. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Dream, hello. I just wanted to tell you you're wonderful. I just got through going through your podcast. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Keep it up. Maybe I need to send it to Oprah and Tyler Perry. Love you, baby. You are great.
Where we share